The Triumph Daytona 955i, everyone. Welcome back to another video on this awesome motorcycle. Now, if any of you tuned in to our video on this bike a couple of weeks ago, then you'll know that I've decided to keep it. Normally with the channel bikes, I will run them for a year, shoot lots of content with them, and then move them on for the next person to enjoy. But I've decided to keep this one for another year because it's just that good. But even if I did replace it with something else, it probably would have been an old Super Sport just like it. So why do I keep buying these old performance motorcycles? And why you probably should too. Let's jump on and let's find out. No joke, you guys. These old bikes, these old Super Sports, I probably have more fun on these old bikes than I do on the newer stuff, genuinely. And there's so many good ones out there. You hear it every now and then where people complain that there aren't any good bikes out there, but to be honest with you, if you're not that fussy with the brand or with, I don't know, with the condition of the bike, there's actually quite a lot of choice out there, and good choices as well. I'll name quite a few bikes on today's ride out. Just examples of motorcycles that you can pick up for super cheap, but yet they still bang, they still keep up with all the modern day stuff, and they'll still put a huge smile on your face. But yeah, I think for me, one of the things that I really appreciate about these old bikes is that whether they've been loved or abused, it doesn't really matter. I still get to enjoy them, I still get to experience them, and if I drop them, well, nah, not a big deal. I can practice stunts with these kinds of bikes, and it's not a huge risk in terms of finance. But just in terms of their overall usability, to be honest, motorcycles really haven't changed that much in the last 25 years or so. In a lot of ways, bikes are the same. From the late 90s, early 2000s to what you can find today. Granted, Super Sports, they are quite a lot different these days because they're more about producing the top peak horsepower as opposed to actually having any usable torque in the low to mid-range RPMs, unlike bikes like this. Bikes like this have got loads of low-end punch, medium range power and torque, and then got a juicy little bit of horsepower at the top end as well to boot. So there's lots going for these kinds of bikes, you guys, and I get that some of you might be worried about investing in an old bike, or can you rely on it, you know, is it going to be reliable? Because that's probably the biggest drawback, right? If you buy an old performance oriented bike that at some point is going to leave you stranded, and yeah, you're going to wish that you never bought it, or you're going to wish that you bought something a bit newer. And to be honest with you, with all the old bikes that I've bought, you guys, so far none of them have left me on the side of the road. They've all been perfectly reliable, and that's even with this and the ZX9R that we had from 2023 2024. I had no service history. Hardly any of the bikes that I buy will have any service history, so I'm buying basically the worst possible stuff that you can get. If you can find an old bike like this that's performance oriented, that's going to be lots of fun for the right price, and it's got service history, even if it's just part service history, and it's got an MOT, you're going to be laughing. You'll be so happy. And so even in this worst case scenario with all the bikes that I buy, because I try to buy the cheapest stuff possible, one, because it's content, but two, how surprised I am at how well they actually have lasted, the quality of them. And yeah, I still prefer to buy a bike like this, an old Daytona 955i with 30,000 miles on the clock and you know, with cracks on the fairing, bubbling on the fuel tank. And I'd still prefer this over one of the newer Chinese motorcycles that are coming out now that are bigger displacement. They're producing more torque and stuff, so they're more performance oriented than they ever were. But even from new or nearly new, they're very, very cheap. I still prefer to buy this, and in most cases a bike like this would even be cheaper than a newer Chinese bike. But let's be honest here, you guys, they're not going to compete performance wise. They're not going to compete with Triumph, Aprilia, Ducati, any of the Japanese brands in terms of performance. They're just not going to compete whatsoever. So even from that perspective, there's lots of reasons to buy one of these old bikes, even if it's just like a secondary bike. You know, if you've got $2,000 lying around, or maybe even less than $2,000, there are so many options that you could go for. Just a bike that you could use just to have a blast on the weekends, or whatever the case might be. Spice up your life, that kind of thing. Get something that maybe is a little bit different outside your wheelhouse. I don't know. Don't have any much. But there's lots of reasons that you could use to justify it to yourself buying one of these old super sports. And yeah, like I said, I've been genuinely surprised at how great all of these bikes have been. So anyway, let's come up with some examples for you guys. So here in the UK, at least anyway, there are lots of these bikes that are very cheap. So this Triumph Daytona 955i, or even the T595 models as well, you could get, which is like the previous generation of this bike. That's another option. And there's loads of those available, anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 all day long, in varying amounts of condition. You know, some bikes are really good, some bikes are not so great. They might have some cracks on the fairing or something like that, but who cares? Only you have to look at it, and you're the one that really gets to enjoy it and ride it. So who cares if it's got a few cracks on the fairing or something like that? Not a big deal if you ask me. But yeah, so the 955i from 2000 all the way through to 2005, and then prior to that the T595. They're fantastic options, and Triumph have been manufacturing these engines for such a long time. They're pretty bulletproof, to be honest with you. Every now and then you will get some electrical quirks, but nothing really that is that detrimental, you know, nothing that's gonna break the bike. And I mean, from my experience on this bike, the electronic problems have fixed themselves. So yeah, not a big deal really, if you ask me. But another great example is the Kawasaki ZX-9R, you guys, all the way from 1997 through to 1999 and then 2003. There are loads of ZX-9Rs available. Again, they're going so cheap. 1,500, $2,000. I mean, my ZX-9R I got for $1,450, I think it was. It was incredibly cheap, you guys. And that was, you know, these are all bikes that can do well over 150 mile an hour top speed. So it gives you a good idea of the performance of these bikes. And they're packing some heat, honestly. But yeah, so you got that. You've got well, my Blackbird as well is another example. But even 929 Fireblades, even Yamaha Thunder Race or Thundercat. What else? You've got the old Yamaha R1s as well from 1999, 2000, or the R6s even. What else, you guys? Yeah, did I mention Fireblades? Yeah. There are some Fireblades out there as well from the late 90s, early 2000s that also are still jam-packed with performance, and they're going for really cheap. What else? What else out there? Gixxer 750, of course. I mean, I think the Gixxer 1000s, when did they come in? Was it were they mid 2000s, I think, so they were a little bit later on. So you're looking at between 2.5, 3, 4 grand for a Gixxer 1000, but the Gixxer 750s, you can pick them up for 1750, 2 grand all day long. Again, the old ZX 10Rs, I think you're kind of looking at kind of like Gixxer money, Gixxer 1000 money as well, because they're a little bit newer. The 1000s, they came in a little bit later on. I mean, well, in terms of modern day 1000s, Yamaha kind of set the trend with their Thunder Race, and then the R1 after that. But I mean, that's just a handful of bikes, you guys, that I've just picked off the top of my head. But there are so many out there that are genuinely incredibly good. And even if you have a nice new bike that, you know, your pride and joy that you have at home locked away in the garage, these old performance bikes will give you such an adrenaline rush. Insurance is cheap as well, and you know, you can ride them around however you like. Genuinely, you can rag the tits off of them, as long as you do some oil changes every once in a while. Then they'll give as good as you get. You know what I mean? They are honestly, they've been so good. All these bikes have been so good to me, and I can't recommend them enough. And I'm gonna keep doing it, you guys, until I'm proven wrong that you know, that one of these bikes is shit or something like that, you know, or isn't worth buying. I'm gonna keep buying them, and I'm gonna keep showing them off to you guys. So I guess concluding this video, you guys, these old performance bikes are cheap, they're reliable, they're hella fun. There aren't really any downsides to them. I mean, perhaps the biggest one is condition. You just don't know what condition you're going to get. Like, an old bike might look amazing on the pictures, but then when you actually look at it in person, it might look in worse condition than you thought. But if you can look past the cosmetic condition of a lot of these older bikes, and you just ride them, you just enjoy them for what they are, oh my goodness, you you won't look back. Honestly, it still surprises me how many people will buy really new bikes. I mean, okay, like, yeah, fine, I've got my ZR 1400, which is 2016, that's not really a new bike anymore. Or my MT-09, that's a 2022, or the ZH2 before that, that was a 2021. So sure, yeah, new bikes, there's lots. New bikes have a lot to offer, and a lot of things have changed between then and now, especially when you look at the tech stuff and all that. But at the core, these old bikes still bang just as good as the new stuff. Genuinely. And I'm going to keep buying them because they're going to keep putting smiles on my face, you guys. What can I say? Anyway, everyone, thank you ever so much for joining us on our ride out here today on the awesome Triumph Daytona 955i. If you've enjoyed it, then go ahead, leave that like, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss any more from this awesome motorcycle or any other of the old bikes that we feature on the channel. But thanks again, everyone. You take care, you ride safe. We'll catch you all in the next video. Have a good one.